Hello and welcome to another instructional session regarding the practices and procedures of applied behavior analysis, the precise scientific approach to changing behaviors for the better. I'm Tom McIntyre, Director of BehaviorAdvisor.com, and today we address the various ways in which we can manage the administration of positive reinforcement in order to build and maintain desirable pro-social actions in the children and the youth that we serve. When we speak of schedules of reinforcement, we're talking about how often and under which circumstances we provide a positive outcome to the youngster for having displayed a correct and appropriate behavior. Now, which schedule we choose will depend on the type of behavior and whether we're looking to create it, make it stronger, or keep it going on a regular basis. There are two general categories of schedules of reinforcement. There are the fixed type. We use these to build and make stronger certain behaviors, but at some point typically variable schedules take over to maintain the behaviors that we wish to see continued. At times, those fixed and variable schedules are intertwined with the passage of time. After a certain amount of time has passed, we determine whether the behavior has been displayed in a satisfactory manner. We can do so having the time periods be exactly the same, fixed. Let's say every 5 minutes we evaluate whether the behavior has been displayed in a satisfactory manner. It could be, though, that we know when time has passed, when a certain interval has expired, but the youngster does not, and the time periods are not always the same length of time. We even have versions where we are not aware of when the time period expires until the tone sounds. We do not know ahead of time, and it's at that signal that we determine whether the behavior is acceptable or not, the behavior that was displayed during that time period. Now, ratio schedules, we're looking at how many times the youngster has shown that behavior. We have the fixed ratio type, where we perhaps inform the youngster that every third time you show this behavior, you will receive the designated reinforcement. But once we've built the behavior and strengthened it with fixed ratio, we may decide to go to a variable ratio schedule where the youngster is unaware of how many times he or she must show the behavior in order to get reinforcement. It may average out to every fifth time the youngster shows the behavior, but the youngster doesn't know whether this time he has to display it 3 times, 7 times, 9 times, 1 time in order to get that reinforcement. Here's an example of a fixed schedule. We plot it out ahead of time. Whether it's the passage of time, each box could represent a time interval of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, a day, and we say if the youngster displays that behavior in a satisfactory manner during the first time, the 4th time, the 7th time, the 10th time, then the youngster will get the reinforcement that was promised. Now, it's going to average out to every third time that the youngster gets reinforcement, but the youngster never knows which of those time intervals it's going to be. Here's an example of a variable schedule, whether we're talking about different time periods or whether we're talking about the number of times the youngster has to show the behavior. Here again, it's variable. It averages out to every 5th time. We see the VI5, variable interval 5, and the VR5, variable ratio 5, have to show it 5 times on the average, but we've plotted out ahead of time when that youngster is going to get the reinforcement if and when that behavior has been demonstrated in a satisfactory manner. Let's look at some examples of the use of schedules of reinforcement. Before we do, let's quickly review. In a fixed schedule, there's a set sequence or pattern. It hopefully motivates the student to strive to reach that point. Once the youngster is successful, we increase the time period, or the number of times that the behavior must be displayed. Oh yeah, we might receive complaints when we up the amount needed for reinforcement, but we attempt to quell our students by voicing our raising of the requirements in this manner. You can be proud of what you've accomplished. You're ready for a new challenge, and I believe you can do it. In a variable schedule, the adult supervisor knows when to administer the reinforcement, but the young person does not know when it's coming. They continue to display the action in hopes that the next time might bring the reward. It's the principle that keeps gamblers going. They can't quit now because the next bet might bring in the money. All right. So let's look at Julio here. He has to withhold, express no curse words for the entire class period. Let's say your class period is 47 minutes long. Maybe it's an hour and 20 minutes long. Okay? But he has to hold in those curse words. Sounds like differential reinforcement of zero rates of behavior, but we talk about that in another part of the website. Let's look here. Are we talking about the passage of time being the important component here, or are we talking about the number of times he shows it? Well, we don't really have any number of times. It's 0. So it isn't that he has to display it 0 times. It's actually the absence of a display. But what's important here is the passage of time. Has to do it for the entire class period. Aha. So if it's a passage of time, we know it's going to be an interval schedule. And our class period is always the same length of time. Number 4, fixed interval schedule. In this situation, we are going to reinforce Louise for every third recess period during which she exhibits only friendly behavior. And we've discussed this with her ahead of time, so she knows what comprises being friendly versus unfriendly or showing bullying behavior or chastisement behavior. So let's see, every third recess period. Well, the recess periods are the same length of time. We're talking about time again, the passage of time. And the recess periods always being the same. Yes, again, number 4, fixed interval. Now in this situation, Emma's going to be reinforced each and every time, each and every display, not the passage of time, but each and every display of saying, "Excuse me," when she interrupts someone else's conversation. Okay, let's see here. Each display, it's fixed. The number of times is fixed. It's each one display. So we know it's got to be a ratio schedule and fixed. Number 3. Joe used to have quite a bit of difficulty getting his homework assignments in on time. In fact, we had difficulty getting him to submit them at all. And so initially we may have started off with every display of the behavior. Each submission received reinforcement. And once he was able to do that, we probably upped the ante, so to speak. It became every second time that he submitted the homework that received reinforcement. And then we may have boosted it. We said, "I think you can jump over 3 and go to 4." And he was successful. And now we're saying, "Joe, your schedule is new and different now. You have to submit 5 homeworks in order to get reinforcement." Let's think about this. I'm not seeing anything here about the passage of time. I'm seeing the number of displays of the behavior. So that would be a ratio schedule, yes. And we have it fixed. We have it set every fifth time. You've got it. Number 3, fixed ratio. Now this one I think I'm still working at, and I'd be interested in some discussion. We've got students trying out for roles in the school plays. Now, the student, and I guess the decision maker, never know if he or she is going to get the role for each attempt at auditions. I'm going to go with variable ratio, and maybe a randomized one in which both parties do not know if the audition will result in a role being given at that time. Oh yes, let's take the material outside of the school building. I'm watching a fluffy, what they call human interest news segment in which the reporter is watching a man standing on a street corner outside of a diner ask women passing by to join him for a cup of coffee in the diner. He failed over and over again. They showed perhaps 20 attempts in which the women rejected his offer to go in and have a cup of coffee. The reporter went up to him and asked why he does this, shows this behavior if he hasn't been successful. His answer? Once in a while someone joins me for a cup of coffee. This sounds like which schedule of reinforcement that is maintaining this behavior even though the person experiences multiple failures, continues to show that behavior. There was nothing said about time passing, so it's got to be a ratio schedule. But he never knows when the display will result in success. It's not on a fixed ratio schedule. Yes, number 5. It's on a variable ratio schedule. All right, Sigmund is going to be reinforced for every fourth 10-minute time period. We see every fourth. Aha, it's set. It's fixed. And while we are talking about time, they're time blocks. Did he keep his hands to himself during that entire 10-minute period? Okay, so we do have the passage of time, blocks of time. I'm going to go with, fixed interval. Every fourth passage of a time period, this youngster receives reinforcement. Thank you for joining me again today in another of our segments in the series on applied behavior analysis, wrapping our brain around it, getting a good, strong, basic understanding of it. You'll also want to check out the behavioral recording video where we talk about how we determine if the youngster has met the criteria for the schedules of reinforcement. We'll see you again in another podcast. Until then, and even then, I'm Dr. Mack.